Okay, we're ready to go. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining today's webinar entitled Future-Proof Your Mailroom. I'm David Law, Portfolio Manager at Ricoh Canada, and today's moderator. Just going to go through some quick housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available by email over the next day. We very much encourage and welcome questions throughout the webinar. All participants have been placed in listen-only mode, so if you wish to queue up a question, please make use of the chat feature that you'll find located on the lower left corner of your screen. We'll flag those questions for the team to address at tail end, where we've allowed some time for Q&A. If we run tight for time, we'll contact you directly with answers from our speakers. Today's speakers include Ryan Beckwith, National Process Automation Consultant, Steve Smith, Director of Services Portfolio, and myself, David Law, Portfolio Manager, Document Processing Services. And to kick things off, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Steve Smith, who has 2 decades of experience bringing new B2B services to market and providing thought leadership to Ricoh services portfolios. Steve?
Thanks, Dave. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar, How to Future-Proof Your Mailroom. In terms of today's agenda, we're going to start by having a quick look at what's been happening to the composition of mail over the past few years. The COVID-19 pandemic, as many of you know, has forced the majority of workers to work remotely today. This is a trend that many believe will continue even after this virus has passed. What are the implications for mailrooms? I'll then introduce you to our featured speaker, Ryan Beckwith, who will talk about the digital maturity journey we are all on. And today, he will be speaking directly to the opportunities and challenges this presents for the mailroom. Ryan will then highlight some interesting customer use cases, and we'll finish by taking any questions you might have. As many of you know, transactional business mail volumes are declining, and they have been for over a decade now. In contrast, parcels and packages have had the reverse trajectory. In both cases, the coronavirus pandemic is likely to accelerate those trends as customers look for better ways of sharing information and supporting remote work. As more and more transactional business information moves online, what's left over is a mix of checks, invoices, statements, notifications, customer communications, and miscellaneous correspondence, all of it paper and all of it unstructured information. Although in decline, for many organizations, much of this residual volume remains critical to their financial operations and their customer experience. Industries that this is particularly true for are those in government, telecom, utilities, financial, and transport sectors. These are Canada Post's largest customers for transactional mail. And although small and medium-sized businesses don't generate large volumes, many have dependencies on the Post for their invoicing and bill payment. Checks pose a particular problem, and while they're declining in volume in a significant way, business-to-business volumes lag those of business-to-consumer in their migration to electronic fund transfer payments. And while we are seeing check volumes diminishing, the dollar value of those checks is rising. Less checks, but significantly higher in dollar value. Here's some of the pandemic-related concerns we're hearing about. Being out of the office means access to information is more difficult. And to ensure business continuity, information, in whatever form it takes, needs to keep moving to workers wherever they may be. Checks and invoices that show up in the mail stream need to be processed. That's important for your cash flow and your vendor partners as well. And there are concerns that mail and packages could potentially be a contact point for the virus. According to Canada Public Health Services, the coronavirus can survive on services from hours to days, dependent on service types and environmental conditions. Paper and cardboard services can register the virus for up to 24 hours, and it is possible for the virus to survive on plastic services for up to 3 days. Let's look at our first poll right now. And please answer this question. In a world that increasingly has employees working remotely. How will your workers get their mail? And your choices are hold for pickup at the office, or you will physically forward to their remote address. Will you have some sort of electronic redistribution of mail in place? Or will you take that even a step further and attempt to integrate mail with line of business applications? So if you could take a minute to answer those questions, that would be appreciated. Okay, just a few more seconds, and we'll take a look at the results. A couple late responses. Okay. So, here are our results. We see the majority, over half of you have put in place some process to electronically forward mail. That's great. That's actually more than I was expecting to see. Where the other half of you are either going to hold it at the office or physically forward, and no one yet is looking at the opportunity of integrating to business systems. Okay, great. Now, at this point, well, I'll just briefly talk about some of the problem that paper presents as more and more business processes become digital. Typically, the more digital we become in our processes and our operations, dealing with the residual paper increasingly becomes more difficult to deal with. So how do you make this unstructured information usable, searchable, retrievable, and available for use in company systems and workflows? And how does this extend to documents that show up in our mail? How do we get critical business documents that arrive by post to our employees who may be working remotely? And how can we scale mailroom operations as the composition of mail changes? For the answers to these questions and more, I would now like to introduce you to our featured speaker, Ryan Beckwith. As Ricoh's National Automation Lead, Ryan has a long history of providing Ricoh customers across Canada with innovative ways to find new efficiencies in mission-critical business processes. Ryan?
Thanks, Steve. Welcome, everyone, today. So yeah, I think I decided I would start on basically talking about our customers' digital maturity. I would say that's the first spot that we start. So we typically sit down, and where the engagement with Ricoh would start would basically be somewhat of a visioning session that would allow us to create a roadmap for our clients. Our clients, as you can imagine, are all over the spectrum. We have some clients that have just started to kind of think about what their journey could look like. And then we have other customers that are well down the path and would consider themselves fully transformed. So in our customer's journey, there's typically 4 steps that we see. So the first step is something I would say probably everyone on the phone is familiar with, and that's our traditional mailroom. So that's a mailroom where all the mail is received, both mail packages and parcels and white mail is all received to that mailroom. It's then brought into that mailroom. It's then sorted. It's then probably put into a cart that is pushed along the different office floors, different cubicles. Maybe you have a mail drop per floor or something like that, and that mail is dropped off and picked up usually multiple times a day. So it's a very manual process, and as you can imagine, times have changed since something like that has been really offered in the marketplace. A lot of our clients as well have decided to outsource their mailroom services and have those services provided by a services provider. This is also something that Ricoh does. The first step most of our customers take is somewhat of a basic digital mail solution. So the first step here would be separating the LOB documents. And for those that don't know, when we talk about LOB, we are referring to line of business documents, separating those from the typical white mail that comes in on a daily basis, and then allowing the white mail to go in an email, in an electronic format, directly to the end recipient. and the LOB mail is typically grouped together and scanned to a location that that line of business has access to. No information is extracted, no workflows are put in place. It's simply now allowing that line of business to access their mail electronically, which, if you think about it, for a lot of our customers does have a significant impact, because in today's world, especially where customers have multiple locations, they may be doing a lot of inter-office, they may be sending maybe an invoice through the mail to be approved at another location, and then that invoice comes back once it's been scanned and stamped. So this does provide a significant benefit when our clients do take that first step. So after our clients typically have basic mail in place, the next step they take is to an intelligent digital mail solution. What this entails is this really entails getting more ingrained into the line of business processes. And this is where the majority of our clients start to receive the return on their investment. What this means is that these line of business documents now, there's data extracted from these unstructured documents. The data and the image are then ingested directly into existing line of business applications. Our solution can also support some workflows, potentially that those documents need to go through before they get into that line of business system. And then that line of business would basically continue on to work the process only electronically now, and as soon as those line of business documents are land in a mailroom, they're immediately digitized and ingested into a line of business workflow, which obviously speeds up processing time, which in return should result in a better customer experience for your client. And then obviously the last step is optimized for the future. And really what this entails over and above an intelligent mail solution is really some sort of validation or artificial intelligence being used to do some processing of mail or matching it up to certain data sets. So really what the optimized phase is really taking on that true end-to-end business process. So that line of business document lands in a mailroom, and now it is automatically taken through the end-to-end process for that document. And yeah, so that's really what our customers' journeys look like. I think we're going to take a quick second here and do a quick poll, just to gauge kind of where everyone is at in their journey. So again, your choices are traditional mailroom, basic, intelligent, and optimized. So yeah, if you could just take a quick second and do that would be great. Just give one more quick second here. Okay, perfect. I'm going to close the poll at this time. So traditional mailroom or basic digital mail services, that's great to see actually. There's almost a 50-50 split. That's fantastic. So that's great to hear that some of you have already started your journey. And I wonder, first thing that comes to my mind is how many of you just started this journey because of COVID, or was it something that was already in motion? So that's interesting. That's great. So I'm going to move on now to really the focused outcomes that Ricoh sees as a true innovative digital mail solution. So some of the things that we think about are line of business processing. So that is kind of one of the key examples. So that could be an invoice that's coming in. That could be a check that needs to be applied into the ERP and deposited in the bank. That could be a mortgage document. So I'm going to give some examples of what some of those processes look like later on in the next slide when I actually take you through the solution. Yeah, those are the types of things. When we're talking about line of business documents, that's what we're referring to. How this supports new world of work. So this solution is designed to support the mobile worker, the worker that is not in the office often. Or maybe it's a worker like me that travels frequently across the country and really makes it into the office maybe once every 2 weeks. So the solution is really designed to take that legacy mail solution that's been in place today and enable the mobile worker to be able to utilize that service. It operationalizes LOB processing. A lot of our customers refer to the solution as their digital on-ramp. it definitely supports tracking and statistics on inbound mail that's coming into the organization, and really gives our clients the ability to take control of that and really optimize the solution that's in place today. So that gives our clients the ability to say, okay, maybe I have 9 people physically delivering mail at this location today. Potentially, maybe I can do that with 3. And why I say 3 is maybe you still need to do package delivery and things like that. Like, so those are all things you need to think of. And our solution allows for the data export to come out of that, so that we can work with our clients using real data to be able to optimize the solution in place today. And then accountability as well. It comes out of the data set and the data tracking to be able to understand exactly what's coming into the organization. Ricoh also has a return mail management solution that can save our clients a lot of money, and I'll take you through one of the case studies in this a little later on. And obviously this does support multiple different locations. So if it's different campuses or if it's different offices, the way the solution is built is that it can support both centralized and decentralized scanning into a centralized application that actually does the disbursement of the electronic images. Okay, so now I'm going to take you through the process. So now I'm going to get into some of the details. So let's talk about white mail first of all. So white mail is your typical mail that's correspondence that's coming through the mail, and it's really just addressed to a direct recipient inside of the organization. So we have 2 ways of handling that. So way 1 we call the single pass method. So what this means is that mail arrives in the mailroom or the Ricoh offsite facility. It is opened, it is scanned, it is sent directly to the end participant, and now they have a digital version of that, and the participant and the recipient can now basically tell the mailroom to either they tell them they want that physical copy of that mail, or they can tell them to shred it. And then that's really it. It's a pretty simple solution. Mail comes in, it can get received by the recipient in an electronic format. So the other option is a 2-pass option. So basically what that means is the first pass, and I would say this is used in situations where confidentiality is high, so maybe for some legal documents. So what the 2-pass method is the front of the envelope is actually captured. The envelope is not open, and then the end recipient actually receives a picture of the front of the envelope. The end recipient would have customized messages. Every customer has their own messages they can pick, but typically those messages are open and scan to me. I want that physically delivered to me. Please don't open it. Return to sender. Please discard and shred. Maybe it's junk mail. So based on those actions, the Ricoh operator, either our off-site facility or our on-site operation, would then basically action those users' requests. Same thing in the end, the user does receive that electronically if they so choose to get it that way. So that's really the white mail side and what that looks like. And on the line of business mail, this can get quite complex. So on the line of business mail, typically what happens is the mail comes in and it's sorted, and then we begin to scan it into our solution. So our solution uses a mass classification tool that identifies what type of document it is. So I'll give the example of a mortgage package. So let's say a mortgage package comes in through this digital mail solution. It's scanned. All of the documents would be parsed into individual different document types, and then certain documents would be taken through a workflow. So maybe we're doing something as simple as package validation. So in order for the risk management team to be able to process this package, they need to be able to have all the documents in that package complete. Maybe all the documents need to have signatures on them. Maybe a credit score of a client needs to be a certain percent or a certain level of rating. So what our tool can do is it can actually validate those packages. So that's those simple business rules that can use intelligence built into the solution to identify that, yes, this package is complete. And it would then move on to the risk team for processing directly inside of that line of business application that would already be deployed at the bank. This could be used for maybe you have new members joining something or a service you offer. You're onboarding a new client. You have new onboarding documents. The solution could easily take those incoming documents, extract that information from that user that's signing up for your service or becoming a member, and automatically post that information into your system and then store the image wherever you needed it stored. So really effectively what the line of business solutions, line of business mail processing allows you to do is really get rid of that back office piece that is typically quite expensive for our clients, because typically that back office piece involves someone sitting there keying data into a system or validating a package, or even worse on the mortgage side, maybe that mortgage package gets all the way along to an auditor. The auditor spends 10 minutes reviewing the file and all of a sudden realizes that, oh, this isn't even a complete package. I can't do anything with this, and it gets kicked out of the queue. So now I've wasted time. So our solution really offers the ability to, digitize that point of source. So as soon as that document arrives inside of the organization, it can now be digitized and then move through a workflow. And then B, it really allows for compliance because our customers are now understanding exactly what type of mail is coming into the organization. They have a very good idea on what the split is between transactional white mail and line of business mail. And yeah, that's really it. That's how the solution works. I will say that it can work with pretty much any solution that's out there today. Any ERP, any line of business application, we're able to manipulate the data and send the image to wherever it needs to be sent, or host the image in an archive. That's something we can do too. So yeah, the idea behind this is not to reinvent all of the workflows you have in place today. The idea is for Ricoh to come in and basically bridge that gap between that paper copy to the digital workflow you already have in place today. Just going to move on here. I think we're going to do another quick poll. So what would be the most important outcomes you could think of if you were going to implement your own digital mailroom? Would it be cost savings? Would it be digitization? Would it be security? Would it be continuity? Or would it be process automation? So if you could just take a few seconds, I'd appreciate it, and give us your thoughts. Still got a few coming in, so I'm going to give everyone a few seconds. All right. Let's see. Cost savings, of course. Digitization, that's great. Process automation at the bottom. Okay, that's great. Thanks for giving us your feedback. So I'm quickly going to take you through a case study. So this is one of North America's leading financial institutions. Before Ricoh, it was a very manual process. We started with this customer with basically taking over their traditional mail solutions, and then we worked over the course of 8 years to get to where we're at today. So this was a very large client. And in fact, to date, we are still processing over 1 million documents a month. So that is not 1 million pages. These documents range anywhere from 2 pages all the way up to 30. And that is per month, and that is done at a off-site Ricoh processing center. We have over 120 different mail classification workflow processes that we have going today for LOB documents. That's not the doc type. That is different LOB processes that we've built into our solution today. The customer had a very high cost of labor. As you can imagine, they had these mailrooms all over the country, some with multiple head counts. Obviously, high volume for return mail, and their workflow processes on the back end in terms of shared services support with keying things into system was highly complex and, again, very inefficient. Their customers were not extremely happy with the customer experience in terms of how long it was taking for products they were buying to be set up or mortgages to be approved or things like that. Ricoh's solution involved an end-to-end digital mail solution, which included advanced capture and an advanced extraction tool. It also enabled business process outsourcing for a lot of the different workflow processes that were needed to enable some of the workflow automation. And then we also had a return mail solution, which I'm going to save to talk about in the next case study because that's what it's about. So the net result of Ricoh's solution over the 8 years has been a result of $8 million US savings. We've reduced the mail headcount associated to mail services inside the organization by 75%. We absolutely still do have some staff on site delivering mail packages and things like that. We're continuing to improve the solution, and this has really been a wonderful case study of how far we can come. We now have every single line of business on the digital mail platform. It's not something you can kind of wave a wand and bring everyone onto at once. So it's been a journey, but we now have been able to bring on every single line of business inside this financial institution. Okay. So this next one is for another one of Canada's leading banks. And really the challenge was return mail. So the customer had a very, let's call it legacy solution in place for return mail, where return mail would come in, it would be sorted, and it would be delivered to the line of business to process. The challenge with this is that the mail volume was so high for return mail that the majority of the return mail that was coming back was not actually getting processed, and it was sitting in a cabinet waiting for that cabinet was filled, and then it was shredded. So it was a very inefficient process, and it was simply because of not being able to stay on top of it due to volume. The other challenge is there was no controls in place to understand what mail was coming back, so customer mail was continually getting mailed to the wrong address, and the client was paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $3.50 to $5 for a total piece of mail. That's total cost. And they were continuing to do that, mail that out month after month after month after month. So you can imagine that those costs quickly add up. So Ricoh's solution, what it's been able to do is basically scan all this return mail that's coming back, do an address validation lookup, correct the address, provide that corrected address information via data file that's automatically ingested into our customer system that goes and corrects that address. We're also able to identify if clients have moved, and if they have moved, we allow the bank to basically put a flag in their system via our data file that will go and suspend any future mailings to that client until they come into the bank or log into their web app to update their address so they can continue to get mail. So it basically puts a pause on their mail until the address is validated. So that is what that solution has been built to do, and again, this can be absolutely part of a digital mail strategy. So we didn't have a lot of time today, so I couldn't get into a lot of the details with everyone, but if anyone on the phone does want extra information, we're looking forward to engaging with you on that. I guess one of the last things I'll leave you with is this doesn't have to be a boil the ocean at once. There's absolutely a way to walk, run, fly. So again, walk can be simple digitization of incoming mail. That's a split between line of business mail and the white mail that's going directly to correspondence mail. It's going directly to an end user. You could start with a two-pass system. Maybe your employees are a little nervous with someone opening their mail, but over time they'll realize there really isn't anything confidential that doesn't matter. And even though there is confidential things, really the only time a user spends on these documents is when they're opening it and putting it through the scanner. there's really not a lot of time spent actually reading what's on the documents. Our users are scanning. They're moving at a million miles a minute. We're not sitting there trying to read all this mail that's coming in. So eventually you go from a 2-pass system to a 1-pass system, which obviously decreases your cost because you're using less labor to do so. And then the run would be beginning to integrate to line of business applications. And again, Ricoh is here to help with this. This isn't something that you need to do on your own. This is something we'd be fully supportive with you. And we'll have mail volumes from starting in basic mail. We'll have the mail volumes to say, okay, in accounts payable, you're getting X amount of pieces today. Or in HR, you're getting X amount of pieces today. So you can really identify what are the hot areas to start with, or the hot LOBs to start with, in terms of expanding the solution. And then eventually you fly, and what that means is you've scaled to all LOBs, and you're continuing to basically take more and more of that line of business process and automate it, and continue to improve the solution. And with that, I think I'm going to be handing it back over to David. Is that correct?
Thank you, Ryan and Steve. Today we spoken mostly about mail services, which fall under Ricoh Document Processing Services. But here's a quick overview of Ricoh's overall services. For over 80 years, we have been imagining change. Today, that includes helping our customers navigate the demands of remote work, maintain business continuity, and keep their essential workplaces operational with a range of services and technologies. If you have any other questions or concerns in other areas, please feel free to reach out. Here's a quick look at some of our upcoming webinars. Please feel free to join us for those. And now let's move to some questions. Let's see, Ryan, this one looks like it's good for you. Are these services performed at our location or remotely?
It's a great question. So both is the answer, or a hybrid could be the answer. So we're able to offer this solution on site. So mail would be scanned on site. If you have Ricoh Managed Services staff in there today, we can absolutely accomplish that, where we can use our staff to scan the mail instead of delivering it, and then feed our processing solution that's in the cloud. And then the option for sending or redirecting all your mail to one of our RDPS, Ricoh Document Processing Centers, across Canada is also an option, where we could receive all that mail and then basically digitize it and enable your business. And then could be hybrid too. So maybe you have some locations or some line of business mail that is extremely high volume, and maybe we redirect that to an RDPS center, and maybe some white mail is scanned on site at your location today. And it can all be directed into the same cloud-based application, whether it's scanned on site or off site.
Great, thanks, Ryan. Steve, looks like maybe this one you should take. What are best practices for packages and parcels?
Packages and parcels. Yeah, we didn't talk a lot about that on today's call. There's a couple things that are kind of neat. Our managed services team has an app that's kind of like Trivago that searches based on the requirements of speed and distance and so forth, picks the best and cheapest solution. That's kind of a neat application. The other thing that we're seeing and hearing a lot, we're getting a lot of interest, is around smart lockers. And these are these lockers that'll, especially given the COVID situation right now, you're able to place a package or mail in a locker, and it integrates with Active Directory and email systems so that you can push out a notification to the package recipient that it's in a unique locker. You push out the bin number, and it has a access code that's used one time. And then you're able to track when it's picked up. If it's not picked up on a timely basis, the software will automatically send a reminder to the recipient. So it's kind of neat, and it gives you a whole audit trail around that, and people can access these lockers 24 hours a day. It doesn't have to be during business hours. They can drop by At some point, you could have them physically located outside of busy or traffic areas. And then you also know when something's picked up, someone can come and clean the exterior of the device as well. So those are kind of really neat, and they're getting a lot of interest today.
Thank you. I have another question here, Dr. Ryan, I guess. Do you have a solution for cheques?
We do, and that's a great example of another line of business document type. So we're fortunate enough that we can actually offer our clients an end-to-end payment processing solution for that check. So what that means is we can process that check, validate it inside of our client's ERP system, post the payment inside of our client's ERP system, and then deposit the funds directly into our client's bank accounts or different bank accounts. We can do multiple currencies. We have a full solution for payment processing that includes check and EFT processing, actually. And again, is a fully automated solution that enables Ricoh to effectively offer end-to-end payment processing for our clients, and it is PCI certified as well.
Thanks. Let's see. Ryan again. What is implementation look like?
So everyone's implementation is different. I would say that we have, to get a basic digital mail solution up and running, you're probably looking at anywhere from 30 to 60 days. And then over the course of time, I would say, let's say Ricoh's been operating that for 3 to 6 months. Within that window, Ricoh would have a very good idea and data to support a full roadmap discussion with our clients. And then what that would enable us to do is basically list off all the different LOBs and prioritize them, and then basically start taking them off the list one by one until we've automated all those different processes inside those LOBs, and we've truly transformed our customers' intelligent mail solution.
Fantastic. Well, that it looks like that's all the time we have for questions today. On behalf of the entire Ricoh team, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Just a note, when you exit the meeting, you'll have a chance to provide feedback on today's session. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and does go towards helping us produce better content and improve the user experience for future webinars. As a reminder, please watch your inbox over the next day for a Ricoh email that includes the webinar recording, as well as information on how to reach out to one of our mailroom services professionals to learn more about how we can help you further adapt to the new world of work. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you.